Hi, I'm Terry. Welcome to another video. When asking ourselves how effective is any handgun for self-defense, what we're really asking in a roundabout kind of way is, will this particular gun, whatever it may be, kill or incapacitate another human being, thus stopping an attack? Well, over the past few months, I've been testing this, my Pietta remake of the Colt 1851 44 caliber 3-inch snub-nose black powder revolver. I've done the accuracy tests, at least within range of a typical self-defense type of scenario. I've done penetration tests on 2x6s, pumpkins and watermelons, most recently a couple of 5-gallon water jugs, and a 10-pound bone-in Boston pork butt backed up also by 2 5-gallon water jugs. If you haven't seen that video, you might want to watch it. The results were encouraging enough. I decided to conduct one more test on a more realistic human type of target. I set the test up in my backyard like my other tests that I had done, and it went great until I got inside and started going through the footage, and I realized that I had made a major blunder. One of my neighbors lives a couple blocks away, recently got a dog, and during the day they keep it out in the backyard while they're at work, and the thing barks non-stop all day at everything. It's just far enough away and just the right frequency that the human ear, at least my ears, can easily ignore it. And in fact, most of the time I don't even pay any attention to it. Unfortunately, it's also just the right frequency that my camera's microphone focuses in on it instead of me. So during the entire shoot, all I could hear was bark, 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 with me mumbling in the background. Well, I didn't want to reshoot the entire video because it was a good test, but I'm using Adobe Rush as my editing tool, and so I can't completely eliminate specific sounds from the audio track either. So instead, I minimized the dog as best that I can, and then I decided to reshoot the intro and the conclusion, like now, when it's quieter. So here is the test shoot of my Pietta 1851 44 caliber snub-nose black powder revolver against a at least rough facsimile of a human target, barking dog and all, and then I'll be back with my final thoughts. This is what I'm calling the Paul Harrell meat target. If you've never heard of Paul Harrell, he has his own YouTube channel, Paul Harrell Productions. He's an actual firearms expert, not like me, and has produced some really good videos on these subjects. So you might want to check him out if you haven't. And if you have, then you'll know that this was his idea, not mine. What we've got here is a composite of different organic materials designed to simulate the human chest cavity and torso. We start out with, this is a rubber-backed cloth placemat to simulate skin. Behind that, we've got some butterfly chops to simulate pectoral muscles. That's in front of pork ribs for the chest cavity. We're going to then shoot through oranges to represent internal organs, soft tissue. We're going to follow that up with another set of pork ribs for the back of the body. And then this is just a water jug to kind of help hold everything in place. So, skin, pectoral muscle, rib cage, internal organs, rib cage, and then on out the back. And I'm going to shoot what is quickly becoming my favorite black powder firearm, my handy dandy little 3-inch snub-nose 44 caliber. Now this fires a 45 caliber round lead ball, 30 grains of Triple F GoX black powder, and a number 10 CVA cap. I'm going to shoot 3 rounds into the meat target at about 5 feet, and then we'll look at it and see what we got. Fire in the hole. Let's see what we got. Okay, it looks like I hit this pectoral muscle, this pork chop here representing pectoral muscle, in the same place both times. It only looks like there's 2 wounds, and yet there's 2 entry wounds here, and then 1 here where it went through the rib cage. So there's 3 holes in the ribs, but it looks like only 2 holes. Now, obviously, it went through the cloth backing with ease. Didn't really destroy the pectoral muscle, but went through it. I got 3 entry wounds here into the ribs. All 3 rounds came out the other side. Again, didn't do a lot of damage, you think at first, but look at this. I can stick my finger through that hole. So I made a pretty good little hole in there. And it feels like one of them hit a rib and broke it. Now, when we're looking at the oranges, again, it didn't destroy them, but the oranges that it hit did some good damage to them. Okay, that wouldn't do your heart much good if that was a heart, liver, lung. Just split it open. All right, didn't do really any damage. Any appreciable damage to the surrounding oranges. Here's another one that got hit. Just the ones that were in the line of fire. Okay, and then we've got 2. We've got 2 entry wounds into the back ribs and no exit wound. I see a bullet right there. There's 1 ball. There's 1. There's a second one. Second ball. Okay, I was finally able to recover all 3 rounds, and here they are. As you can see, in very good condition. In fact, if needed, I could reuse these as is. Very little deformation. As it turns out, one of the rounds, the first one that I found it because it was actually sticking out the back rib. It had gone almost all the way through. The plastic over the rib, which you could say simulates human skin, actually stopped it. Otherwise, it would have gone on out. The next round was in another bullet wound, and then the third and final round, which I don't know which one of these was actually first, second, or third that I fired, but it actually got jammed in behind, just off to the side of the round that went almost all the way through. So I found that first one that was sticking out the back, and I thought that was it. And there was another one actually right up behind it. So got all 3 rounds back. So what does this test and the others that I've done on this, at least on this particular firearm, really mean? Well, the question that I've been asking isn't, how does black powder compare to modern firearms? Technologically, modern firearms are superior to black powder in almost every respect. The question that I'm really asking is, how effective of a self-defense tool is black powder? Meaning, if I ever find myself in a situation where I'm forced to use deadly force to defend myself and all I have is this, will it get the job done? Well, all the tests that I've done say yes. And for those of you quick to point out, none of the 3 rounds made it through the back ribs, so you might think that it is underpowered. The back ribs aren't what keep a person alive, okay? It's the organs and arteries in front of those back ribs. And all 3 rounds went through those and did significant damage. The fact that none of the bullets went through the back ribs could actually be considered a pro, because there are no degrees of deadness, okay? Dead is dead. And above that minimum threshold necessary to be fatal, any extra energy could be considered wasted energy and a danger to potentially innocent bystanders standing behind the bad guy. We don't need to knock the guy off his feet. We need to kill him and put him down. And that means damaging internal organs. And to do that, we got to get through that first set of ribs, and muscles. We don't need to go all the way through the target. We need to get to those vital organs. And this gun did that. Also, remember, 1 round went almost completely through the ribs. It was only actually stopped by the plastic in the back. It didn't have a lot of energy left, but it still went almost all the way through. And I was testing what you might consider the lowest possible powered scenario for this gun. Short barrel, round ball, off-the-shelf triple F powder, off-the-shelf standard cap. Modifications made to any or all of these variables could very easily have significantly increased the performance. But this still brings up another question. Even though this made it through the ribs and through the internal organs, why would anybody use it? Modern handguns are undeniably superior to black powder in many ways. So why not just go with the better gun? Why not just go with the newer technology? That's an American perspective, and a lot of Americans tend to forget the world is not the United States. In fact, most countries in the world have far stricter gun laws than we do. And in some countries, the only legal option a person might have if they want to carry a firearm to defend themselves is black powder, as several viewers of mine from France and Poland have pointed out. In view of that, we get back to the original question. If we find ourselves in a self-defense type scenario where we are forced to use deadly force, will this get the job done? Yes. This is not a toy. It is a deadly weapon and a serious, quite capable self-defense tool. Now, as far as reliability goes, don't forget, on my last video, I kept this gun loaded and on my person for 6 months. It wasn't in a temperature, humidity controlled gun safe. It was on my hip, in my car, in the glove box, wherever. This thing went where I went for 6 months. All 6 rounds fired. 2 went through 2 5-gallon water jugs. 4 went through a pork butt, 10-pound chunk of meat, and 3 of them then went through another 2 5-gallon jugs of water. 1 penetrated the shoulder bone and got caught in the first jug of water after being loaded for 6 months. If loaded and taken care of properly, black powder can be just as reliable as any other firearm. And one last point. I have said in the past that some people, in fact a growing number of people, even though they might live in a jurisdiction where they have the option of choosing between black powder or conventional firearms, have what they would at least consider to be very good reasons for preferring black powder. I'm not going to get into that discussion yet, but I will get back to that in time. As always, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.